Good morning and welcome to the first CTE Director Virtual Learning Series of the 22-23 school year. Thank you for joining us. It looks like we've got around 70 attendees so far. Excited to have you back at school. I know today's the first day for my niece in Blount County Schools, and I know our friends in Alcoa and Oak Ridge have been back for, it feels like, a month at this point. So wherever you are in kicking off the school with your teachers, I hope you have a great start and a great August, and I appreciate you pulling out this hour to come and join and hear more about innovative school models, specifically the application this morning. Chelsea Rose will be joining us to share her insight and wisdom. I will be here turning my camera off and going on mute to kind of be the producer to Chelsea's presentation, and also manning the question and answer section. So we'll, as you have questions, type them into that question and answer section. We may hold them for just a few minutes and ask one question that kind of summarizes many individual questions, but as those questions are answered, we will publish those, so you'll be able to then see your question once it has been asked, and then I'll type in the response to the question as well. So that way, just in case your connection is wonky or whatever may happen this morning, we'll kind of have a catalog of not only the questions asked, but then the answers provided as well. I am going to post here in the announcements, as Chelsea is introducing herself, the link to the Innovative School Models website. This will be an important website to bookmark if you haven't already, and make sure you've got some quick and easy access to it, as this will be the storing ground. One last thing, just to kind of call out, we're on about a 15 to 30 second delay through this live platform, and so there may be just those moments of pause there. Nothing is going wrong. It's just that moment of a little bit of delay for the system. And so that's, again, why we encourage you, type in your questions as you have them. And then Chelsea will either pause and ask her questions, or I'll interrupt and ask some questions as we go through. And so with that, again, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I know beginning of August is a rough week. It's an exciting week. There's a lot happening in your district. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chelsea so that we make the best use of your time.
All right, thanks, Sarah. So good morning, everybody. I'm excited to be here with you and have the opportunity to share about innovative school models. So my name is Chelsea Rose. I'm the Director of College and Career Readiness at TDOE, and we've been really busy the last couple of weeks trying to get everything ready to roll out innovative school models. So it's an exciting time to be in CTE. The individual from your district who submitted the intent to apply should have received an email on Friday with the preliminary allocation for the schools in your district or for charter schools. So if you have not seen that, whoever submitted the intent should have received that. And so what we will be spending some time doing today is, as Sarah said, just going through the application. I'm going to show you some of the resources that we have posted on our website. And then if we have time, we'll look at the rubric for the application a little bit. I will pause after every couple sections of the application to try to answer some of your questions as we go. And I wanted to just remind everyone, if I do not get to all the questions, or if you have a question that you would rather talk to me one-on-one about, starting today and continuing on through the application window through January, we will be having office hours every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 2 Central Time or 2 to 3 Eastern Time. So be sure that link is in some of the guidance documents that are on the website. So feel free to hop on those office hours anytime that you have a question or concern as you work through the application. All right, so first off, we just wanted to share the website with you. So this is where we will post information about innovative school models, documents, updated FAQs as we continue to get questions. So here are the resources. For today, we will be going through this first document, the application guidance document. We'll just walk through the various steps, and it does have screenshots of the application. So hopefully at the end of this meeting, you'll kind of have a better idea of what the application will look like, and it does open today. This next document is something you have probably already looked at, but this has just general information about the Innovative School Models Grant, kind of what the expectations are, the application windows, how it will be scored, items like that. Then we do have an FAQs. This is being updated on an ongoing basis. So as we receive new questions that a lot of you are asking, we will go in and try to add that as we have answers, and we will mark it in red, just so you know. But that is something to please spend some time going through, because we answer a lot of questions regarding the budget, you name it in that. Then we have a budget narrative document, recommended account numbers document, and then our link to the intent to apply. Some of you may have seen the press release that was recently sent out that highlighted some of our exemplary schools that have been implementing innovative programming. So this document just gives some examples of what an innovative school model may look like at a high school, and then we've got a couple examples for middle schools too. So be sure, as Sarah said, to bookmark this because this is where we will leave important documents and information about innovative school models as we go along. All right. So this is this first document. So this is available to you if you want to dig into it deeper after this meeting. But we will just go through step by step of what the application is going to look like in ePlan. First off is ePlan access. So we have requested that everyone who has access to Edit the Perkins Base, Perkins Reserve grants, a number of different applications in ePlan to be grandfathered. So hopefully all of you all will already have access to go in and work on this application, and likely multiple people from your district will have access. But if you're new or have someone new at your district that is going to be working on this grant application, please make them fill out a user request form. We have linked that, and then they would just need to email that to the eplan.help@tn.gov website. That will need to be done prior to working on the application, because obviously you won't have access. So we have tried to streamline and simplify this application as much as possible, but yet gather the information that we need. So it has 3 sections, and we will be going through each of these. Your section number 2, ISM Overview, is where the bulk of the information regarding what your district is planning to do with these funds and the programming that you're planning to implement. That's where that's going to be. So section 1, cover page. This probably looks like a lot of grant applications that you have already worked on. We just need identifying information, a primary contact for this program within your district, and then these numbers here, the DUNS number and the unique entity identifier. So that's section 1, simple enough. So I'll pause just for a second to see if, just beginning out, if we have any questions about the website, the resources that are available, and this first little part of the application.
Sure. I think right now questions have been answered, but just to kind of call out to some of those so that you know what's in the chat box is posted a link to the office hour meeting space. And I think that link will be the same link every Tuesday and Thursday
Yes.
between now and the end of the application period in January. So that has been posted. There, we've also posted a link to the Innovative School Models piece. I think there have been a couple of questions just to kind of flag those because I didn't publish these that from folks who didn't receive their preliminary allocation on Friday. So if you did not receive your preliminary application, if you'll just drop in the question and answer your district and then the email address, then Chelsea, I'll share that with you post this conversation. But I think from there, that is everything so far. There's been a lot of good activity, a lot of good mornings and whatnot. So, so I think we're in a good spot.
All right, that sounds good. All right, so moving on. So this is the bulk of the application. So the Innovative School Model Overview section. We've got. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. We got a question here that I think was worth interrupting here. The question is, can you clarify the DUNS number and unique entity identifier?
Yeah, so we've gotten that question a couple times, and we've asked if it was something that we could eliminate, and it is not. So that is something that I believe there is a link online to find those DUNS numbers for each district, but I don't have it right on hand. But I will try to find that, and we will try to link that in the FAQs so you can access those numbers easily.
Awesome.
Good question. Thank you. Okay, so the section 2, so this is kind of an overview of what is expected in section 2. So we will just go through all of these, but we do have a mix of different types of questions, short answer, description, narrative, things like that. So first off, and I know that we really didn't have in the intent to apply many, if any, districts who indicated they were going to collaborate with another district. So this will not apply to many of you. We just ask if it's a multi-district application. So the majority of you will put no. If there is someone out there that's going to be working with another school district that I have forgotten about, or charter schools, I don't know if any charters are on here, but you will click yes and then type the districts that you will be collaborating with. Okay, right here in this section, your high schools and your middle schools within your district will pre-populate in the application. So you will see a listing of all the schools within your district that have grades 6 up to grades 12. What we need in this section is for you to list the enrollment for those grades. So for a middle school, we need the enrollment filled out if you have grades 6 through 8. If it's a combination school, provide the enrollment that fits. So if it's like, say, grades 7 and 8, put the enrollment in this column. And then 9 through 12, put the enrollment. So you don't have to fill out both columns, fill out the column that is applicable. This is the section that I wanted to talk the most about with you. So when we realized we were going to be getting this grant funding, we realized that there are so many schools and so many unique situations, and how were we going to allow schools to do what fit their district and develop the innovative school model that fit maybe for their entire district as a collaborative type of plan, or fit with maybe 1 or 2 high schools, and then there's a middle school over here within this district that's wanting to do something different. So we're trying to capture that in this application. And the way that we are going to do that is you will develop a project name for each separate innovative school model that you plan to implement. So for example, if you have 2 high schools within your district that are planning to focus on a nursing innovative school model, then you will give that project a name. And then in this section, you will find those two high schools within your district, and you will list that same project name for both of those high schools. And then if within that same district, you've got a high school and a middle school that are going to collaborate to do some sort of seamless career exploration project, then you would name that, and you would put that name beside the high school that's participating and the middle school that's participating. So if your district is planning to do just a consolidated project, it all kind of meshes in together, all the schools are going to be working together, it's a cohesive, innovative school model that's going to be applied district-wide, then one project name will suffice, and you will list that same project name for all the schools that fall under your district. Last example is if every school in your district wants to do their own innovative school model. They each have a separate vision for what they want to do, what they want to achieve, what they want to focus on. Then each will have a project title, and you will list the appropriate project title beside that school. So these will, you will need to note what the different project names are, who it applies to, because as we work through the application, you will see that again as far as each separate project will require you to do a theory of its own theory of action, which you're probably familiar with from Perkins, as well as action steps and sustainability strategies and metrics that apply to that specific project. So there's going to be some comprehensive type questions, and then as we get on, the ones that ask for that project name, if you are doing separate projects, it will we will kind of get more specific. So I know that that can be a little confusing, so I'm going to pause and see if we have any questions about how that is going to work.
At this point, the only things that are awaiting a reply, we've got some folks who are just saying who they are. So I'll publish those, but no other questions have been identified at this point. We did have some feedback from a participant around the DUNS and unique entity identifier, saying that the district's federal programs director should have that information. It was submitted back with CFAs in May. And so if you don't have that readily available, your federal programs director should. So just for the in-between time. We do have a question here of what if a single school has multiple projects? How do we record that?
So that's a situation that we have not really accounted for. So I would say to give that particular school one name, maybe, and it could be a two-part type name. And then just when we get down into where we do have some more narrative sections and where you can type, if you would just kind of provide us with more details about what that school is doing. But I would just stick with one name and then elaborate where you can type a little more.
Awesome. I will type that in now. I think otherwise we are good on the questions.
All right, so we will move right along. So part 2.2 is where we are just wanting to know, this is district-wide, what kind of components will be implemented as part of your innovative school models if you're doing more than one type of project. So we have listed some of the major kind of categories of components that we feel kind of make up an innovative model. And these will be listed, and we have separated these out by grade span. So our high school level grades and then our middle school level grades, and they do apply to whichever grade level they're listed under. And so what we've asked you to do is to just simply check which components will be implemented as part of your projects. You do not have to check all of them. just the ones that apply. I think in the rubric, we would love to see you implement at least 3 per grade span, just to ensure it's a well-rounded program. But when you check that, say, for example, early post-secondary opportunities will be expanded for students, you'll check that box, and then it will populate a narrative box where we would like for you to explain how. And then, we've got various work-based learning opportunities will be expanded. So the type of things that you all are already familiar with, and then just to provide a brief explanation of how that is going to happen within your project. For middle school, it focuses more on targeted plans for EPSO participation in high school, what type of activities to increase awareness of CTE programming for rising high school students, things like that, career assessments. Okay, and then the project description. So this is where we need you to get a little more detailed about what your project is going to look like. So we ask questions that are pretty broad. So how have partner needs informed the project? For middle school, we would love to see a project-based learning experience developed as part of the innovative school models. So to describe that, how will middle school students have access to real-world and problem-solving opportunities? And then we want to know broadly how seamless alignment will be promoted between middle school to a high school CTE program of study, and then how will the Innovative School Model grant change students' school experiences. So if you can answer those questions sufficiently district-wide for all of the projects, that's perfectly fine. If you feel that you need to get more detailed and specify this is how this project at this school is planning to do this, that's perfectly fine as well. We just want to know how the needs that have informed the project and how it's going to change students' experiences in essence. All right, so do we have any questions in the chat currently?
We are good.
Okay, no, I'll move along. And if you have any, we'll go back and try to cover them. All right, so the project partner section is it looks like this. And well, ideally, we want you to have at least one community partner, at least one educational partner, and at least one industry partner. So what we have done is you have a partner name where you will type, if you're partnering with a community college in your region, what that name is. And then for partner type, the options are industry, community, or education. So you will just select whichever one applies. And then we need just a brief description of how that partnership will be reimagined to support the innovative school model. So we would like all the partners. I know some schools may partner with one group and another school may partner with another. We would like to see all of those listed in this section, and you can add additional partners by just selecting add row, and you can add as many as you need. In addition to this is not required, but it is highly encouraged. We would like to have letters of support or memorandums of understanding from partners outlining, that they are on board and what they plan to do to support the program. And these will be uploaded to the related documents page. Okay. So part 2.5, this parallels the project components section a bit, but in this section we have broken out the different categories that we would like to see reimagined through an innovative school model. So time, space, and modes of learning. And we have put some of the strategies and best practices that we have seen in year one of innovative high school models, and then some of the practices, that research shows us are beneficial ways to reimagine time and space. So you don't necessarily have to type anything here. We just want you to look at these strategies. They are broken out by grade span, and see which strategies will be implemented as part of your innovative school model. Good news for you all is these boxes do not populate any sort of narrative box for additional explanation. We just want to know which you plan to do. You also have the option to, if you have a best practice or a strategy that you're planning to implement to reimagine space, and we don't have it listed here, which is totally likely, go ahead and click Other, and then there is a text box that will populate where you can just provide us with a brief sentence of what you're planning to do. And we do encourage that. So, so that is the reimagining section. So pretty much just check boxes. And we would like to see that, a number of these type of strategies are planning to be implemented. All right. So for section 2.6, your theory of action, this is something that all of you who are working with Perkins are probably very familiar with. So we are keeping with that structure. Each project that has a specific project name should have an aligning theory of action. So you can add row if your district has multiple projects that will be implemented, and then list the project name that was provided up at the top of the application, and then the theory of action for that project. If it's a district-wide comprehensive project, you may just have one project name here and one aligning theory of action, and that is perfectly fine. Or you may have as many as you need. And then I'll go through this section, and then please, if you have questions, I'll pause for a few moments because these are some of the more involved sections of the application. So the action steps, outcomes, and evaluation strategy. This again, it parallels some of the Perkins applications that you all have done, but we have had to add a couple components to this table. So you will see the project name again, same situation. You can have one or many, depending on what your district is planning to do. You will add the row to add as many as you need, and it will populate an entire table like this. So for each project, 3 to 5 action steps would probably be sufficient. We want these to be more overarching goals that you're planning to achieve for your project, what you're going to do. So your action step, then you have an outcome, what you're hoping to achieve from that action step, and then an evaluation strategy. We have made a slight edit here to include the word metrics. So this is where we want to see how you are going to be measuring your progress toward achieving your goals. And then a sustainability strategy. And these do not have to be super wordy and detailed, but we do want, a couple sentences in each box to show that this has been thought through, and so we can understand what you're planning to do and how you're planning to measure it. So a sustainability strategy, for instance, if you're planning to hire 2 career counselors, long term, what do you hope that will look like? Do you have any plans to partner with an industry to continue to support funding for that position, something like that? And then select which year the action step plans to be implemented or achieved. And you don't necessarily have to have something for every year, but we did leave that option just so we could better understand your timeline that you're thinking of. All right, so that section is kind of chunky, so I'll see if there are any questions about the application so far. And we're getting kind of toward the end.
Sure. I think we've got a couple of questions in here, but I do just, before we get to those, I've had one of the core consultants note that some folks are kind of stressing out that they're coming across as anonymous in the system, and they want to make sure that they're noted as attending. And there will be a survey at the end that I'll post in this chat at the end, and then I'll also post along with the recording in the Teams channel for between core consultants and CTE directors. So as long as you fill out that survey, your attendance will be noted. So don't stress if the system has you as anonymous. We're more so worried about you getting the questions that you need answered than tracking individual attendance for this particular month. Let me see here. I'll post, there's a question around posting a link to that Teams channel. I would say get in contact with your core consultant and they'll be able to make sure that you have access to that, because that is kind of a secured sharing location. So if you don't have access to that Teams channel where we post all of these recordings, talk with your core consultant on that one. And then question for you, Chelsea. Excuse me, is should sustainability be integrated with TISA planning?
Yes, and the sustainability section is next on the application, but yes, that is one reason why we've encouraged districts. You know, you're welcome to be an early adopter and apply in the first application window, but it has been encouraged to wait and apply in those later windows, because we will have a little more guidance on the TISA funding and rules, and hopefully all of that can work together to make a strong, innovative school model.
Okay, so I'm putting the answer as that as yes, TISA is one of many ways to sustain activities that are started with this grant funds.
Okay, and I see the year information.
Yep.
So we've been asked to restate the year information. So here on this this section, we would like to just kind of have an idea of when the action step will be implemented or completed, when you're expecting that to be done, when it's going to be a focus of the project. So, so if you could select the year that action step will be implemented, that just gives us a better idea of the timeline that you're working with, so we can better understand your project as we read through it.
And just a clarification there, as I'm typing in that response, if it's going to be implemented, if it's going to be started, let's say at the end of this fiscal year, but then really implemented next fiscal year, would you like that just noted as both years?
Yes.
So put more if it's happening within the grant year, identify it.
Right.
Okay, sounds good. And I think, oh, we've got one more question. Nope, it was just the same question. So we're good. I think that zeroes out our question box.
All right. And so here we are in sustainability. This is the last section of the ISM overview part of the application. So we know that this is more of a long-term grant, 4 years. So we're not expecting you to detail your sustainability plan right now, but we would like to better understand how you're planning to think about sustainability on the short term, year one. So these are the two narrative questions that we will have in the application. Number one, we want an explanation for how you're planning to leverage the state TISA funding plan, as well as other local, state, and federal resources to sustain the Innovative School Model program long term. And then we just need to know 3 next steps for sustainability that you plan to complete over the next year. And I will say that we do have plans to provide professional development on developing a sustainability plan. And that will be something that's like a living document that will be updated on an annual basis as your project evolves. So those are our 2 sustainability questions. All right, and so that concludes the ISM overview. If you have any questions about that section, feel free to put them in the chat and we will back up. But I will go on to the budget. The budget will look a lot like budgets you have probably done for other grants, is the good news. But I do want to note a few things that are important. So first of all, we will be allocating the funds, 25% of the funds for year 1 in ePlan. For any of you, if you log on to the application today and look, your 25% allocation may not be there yet, but it will be soon. The holdup with that is you will not be able to complete your budget until you see that 25% loaded in ePlan. So just something to note, should be resolved in the next couple of days, but I just wanted to let you know about that. As far as the 25%, in ePlan, you will only be able to submit like the detailed budget information in ePlan for 25% of the budget. So, so as far as the steps that look like this, where you modify, you tell us exactly what the budget line item is and all that, you will just be doing year 1 on the budget page. Now, we will need to collect a budget plan for the full duration of the grant, just as a related document. So that will need to be uploaded to the related documents page, and it is a required related document as part of this grant. So I'll repeat all that. So 25% is going to be allocated in ePlan right now. Your budget that will be input on the budget plan page in ePlan will be for year 1. It will be detailed, specific line items, exactly how much, all of that. And then you will need to upload a more comprehensive detailed budget plan for years 1 through 4, or 2 through 4 would probably be sufficient, in the related documents page. So just something to note, we do need to know in that budget plan that you upload and develop on your own, we need to know a projected spend down amount for each year that includes any expected carryover funds. So just wanted to note that. Now, we have received several questions from districts that are maybe wanting to do a big project on the front end, and they need more than that 25% allocation in year 1 to get their project off the ground. So that is something that we're going to handle on a case-by-case basis. So if your district wants to request more than the 25% in year 1, you will need to send an email to deborah.knoll@tn.gov and let us know what the total allocation is that you need, what percentage of your full allocation that you need in year 1. And then we need a justification as to why. Just explain what you're doing that warrants you needing to get more than 25% in year 1. You will need to email that to Deborah in advance of doing your application, because when that request is reviewed and then hopefully approved, we will be working with our ePlan team to ensure that the correct allocation is loaded into your individual application for your district so you can budget accurately for year 1. So I'll pause there to see if there are any questions in the chat.
No questions at this point. I did just restate what, or type into the chat that if you need more than 25% during year one, email Deborah Knoll and share A, what percentage you will need, and B, a justification for needing the higher percentage during year one. Send prior to submitting application. So folks have that in writing. And oh, we do have a question here. Not seeing the application in ePlan currently. Do you know when it would be available?
It should open up today. So so I would think by close of business today, but if you're not seeing it yet, there's probably just a technical delay, and it should be any day that it's available.
If they don't see it tomorrow, should they reach out to their core consultant, reach out to you, reach out to Deb? Who would be best?
Go ahead. You could feel free to reach out to me. I would give it maybe till the end of the day tomorrow. And if you're still not seeing it, let me know.
All right, that is everything.
Okay, so this screenshot just shows the budget page that you all will probably be familiar with. We have the approved line items. You will click modify to go in there, add budget detail. All of this is probably something that you are very familiar with. And so I'll just reiterate, it is for year one. We would like you to put the narrative description explaining what the line item is. And then I will note that we have added a line here for budget tags. It is a required item for you to click. So these are areas such as if these career coaches that you're planning to hire are going to support career exploration activities, that will be like a budget tag. Or if you are planning to budget some funds toward tuition for dual enrollment, you will see a budget tag for early post-secondary opportunities, and you will click that. And then we also need a location code. So this is where you will specify the budget for each of your schools. So for those of you that have multiple schools, we would like to see, for instance, Alcoa High School, if they're getting $1 million, we will be trying to, so the 25% of that year one allocation, we will look to see, does the budget that is tagged to align with Alcoa High School use that year one budget? They're not over budget, like what has been planned for Alcoa High School aligns with their year one allocation. So be sure and use your location codes and your budget tags. If you do not use those, you will get like a notice and a validation error in ePlan. So just an FYI.
Chelsea, while we're kind of talking about budgets per location, I have a question here about, will funds left over automatically roll over into the next year?
There will be carryover funds. So the funds can carry over, whether that's an automatic process or it's something that you all may need to request, I'll need to check on. And so we will, I'll find that out and we'll add it to the FAQs.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that is the conclusion of the application. It looks like we've got just a few more minutes. So if there aren't any other questions regarding the application, I'll just give you just a brief overview of what the rubric is going to look at, so you kind of know what we're looking for as we review your application. First of all, I will say the budget is about 25% of the score. The ISM Overview section is about 75% of the score. We do have a pretty high approval cut score. So in order to gain full approval and have the funds released to start your innovative school model, we want your district to score a 35 or higher, a 35 out of 40. So that gives you an idea of kind of the criteria that we're looking at. So if you score below a 35, a 34 or below, you will receive a conditional approval. And then, that will begin a conversation with TDOE on how to improve the plan to where you can get the full approval and begin to spend down your funds. Okay, let's see. I see a question.
Yep.
If the project is district-wide, can we select multiple locations? How do we handle that in the location? So the allocation, it will be so if it's a district-wide project, you will still need to have the location code showing that, this high school is the district-wide plan, the district-wide project is supporting this high school with these funds.
So when they're in that budget item, when they're building out that particular budget entry, will they be able to tag multiple locations, or will they need to have multiple entries because you can only select one location per entry?
Yes, a great question. So it will just be single selection. You will not be able to tag multiple locations. So you will be having to make some repeat entries. And that's so we can pull the budget total to ensure that each high school is, that their funds are being allocated to that high school in the amount that has been allocated to that specific school. But yeah, district-wide plans will still need to use the location codes. All right. So basic information is just a yes or no. Once we get down here into the ISM overview, this is that component section where you will be explaining how, check which ones. So these, how many we would like to see ideally. We would like to see at least 8 from middle school and high school combined added as part of your innovative school model. And then we look as the description of how those are going to be implemented, clear and thorough. Your narrative descriptions, we are just looking to see, did you answer the question thoroughly, clearly? So all of this is stuff that you all are probably quite familiar with to get full points. Project partners, the ideal situation for full points is to have at least one partner from post-secondary and industry, and then a clear description of how they are planning to work with you to contribute to the ISM project. For the reimagining, this is where we had those best practices and strategies. We would like to see at least 3 strategies or practices within each of those areas, time, space, modes of learning, to be implemented. And then your theory of action, I will note that for those of you that will have multiple project names versus maybe just one project name, we are going to be taking the average of the score. So you're not going to be hurt or helped either way, depending on whether your district plans to do a district-wide approach or if individual schools or groupings of schools plan to do something different. So I see a question. Let's see.
We got a question about where to find this rubric. I have said that it's on the ISM website, but is there any particular place where it is?
Yes, it's in the application guidance document. So the first link under resources, it's at the very end of the document.
Thank you.
All right, and then the action steps section. So we want to see that the action steps have a clear connection to the intended student outcomes. We want to see that you know how you're planning to track the metrics, what data tools you're planning to use, that sort of thing. We want to know that what sustainability step for each action step, if it's clear and understandable and reasonable. And then the timeline aligns. And then with sustainability, these are just thorough, fully answer the question type of thing, get full points. Down with the budget, we are going to be looking if the priorities for the budget align with the goals and outcomes that you state in your application. That the budget clearly reflects sustainability. So these are things that are the parameters of the budget, which are outlined in more detail in the FAQ document that's linked on our website. So like for staffing, which you all are already familiar with Perkins, that there's kind of a step down kind of funding for that, that eventually, you know, the district or a partner will take on more responsibility for funding that position as time goes on. That tuition that we see that you're trying to have a post-secondary partner, an industry partner who wants to provide support to offset all of the tuition support coming from the ISM grant. Those sort of things is what we'll be looking for in the budget. So this will mainly, these kind of pieces will mainly be in your related documents, the budget plan that you submit in related documents, because we know for year one, that's not going to be as big of a piece. And so we'll be looking at sustainability, if it aligns to the parameters in the FAQs, that you use the location codes and the budget tag priorities, and then that the related documents, that you have submitted all the needed related documents. Another thing that I think I overlooked is if you are going to have someone hired personnel as part of the project, we do highly recommend, not required, for you to add a copy of the job description to the application. And this is just so we can better understand what the plan is. All right. And so we will be scoring the applications. Multiple people at TDOE will go through a few rounds of scoring these applications. This is kind of how the breakdown will be. 40 points possible, with the overview being 75% of it and the budget being 25%. Our finance team will be the ones scoring the budget. And then this is the timeline and review, which you all probably have already seen in the intent. But there are going to be 3 different application windows, and you can work on your application in ePlan just as soon as it is officially opened in ePlan. So maybe not today, we'll see, as soon as it is available. So even if you do plan to apply in the last application window, you can be working on it in the meantime. And then your grant disbursements, while the first disbursement will be a little bit off depending on when you submit your application, those will get on the same track by the time the second disbursement comes out. All right. So this is our review process. All of this is online, and final approval dates and things like that. So that is the ISM application. Do we have any questions, Sarah? Otherwise, that concludes my portion of the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Chelsea. I think right now all of our questions have been answered. I am going to drop into the question and answer session the link for the feedback survey for this month's session, so that will be posted there. For those who are watching this later on the recording, that link should also be posted where you found the recording, whether that be through your core consultant or through the Teams channel. So that should be there. Let me move my screen over so I'm actually looking at you all. But otherwise, we will, we've got a question in here. Is the budget template provided in the guidance documents?
No, so we do not have, for the years 2 through 4 that you will upload, we do not have a template to use.
Is there a template for year one, or is that just where they build it out in the budget section of ePlan?
Yeah, that's where they'll build it out, in the budget section of ePlan. What revenue code should be used for reimbursements? I'm not sure, but I will try to find out. And as we just about run out of time, I will plug again that we do have office hours that are starting today. So I will be on Teams. The link is in, I think, the district guidance for districts document that's on the ISM website. And so I will be online to answer any other questions that you have from 1 to 2 Central today, or 2 to 3 Eastern time today.
And
that will be ongoing.
I just reposted that, so that way it's at the bottom top, whatever the case may be there. It is in the most recent piece of the chat. And then Chelsea, you will just update the FAQ with those revenue codes.
Yes.
Okay. And I think just kind of a loose question here is, as we just leave about 30 seconds to a minute for anybody that's still typing in. How often do you think you would be updating that FAQ, and how can folks know that they're looking at the most updated information?
Great question. So we will note the last date it was updated on the website out from the link, and we will try to look at those on a weekly basis going forward.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. So with that, I'm kind of realizing that you all are seeing what a mess my house is currently. So I'm just going to move my camera for a hot minute and move myself. But with that, thank you for joining us. Hope you have, again, a great kickoff to the school year. If there's anything Chelsea or I or Deb or any of our teams can do to help support you in this work, to be a thought partner alongside of you, I would just reiterate what we talked about at the summer director meeting, is that we want to come and get to a place of yes. And so we are happy to partner with you, whether that be core consultants, program managers, CTSO, state advisors, anybody on Chelsea's side of the house, to just kind of help you reimagine. We want to be cognizant and be true to the governor's charge to spend this money to really reimagine how we are doing high school education for students, and that the students impacted by the actions taken have a different experience than what they would have without this funding. So anything we can do to help support you, to brainstorm, to, like I said, just be a thought partner alongside of you. I jokingly say all of the time that I'm so happy Chuck is here, and I don't mean that as a joke. I really am glad Chuck is here, but I have found him to be an excellent thought partner to just think through different opportunities, think outside of the box a bit. So if you're just kind of looking for that top piece, he can't say no, but I know he's here listening, but he'd be a great resource to look at your CTE programs as a whole, in addition to Chelsea, Deb, myself, and like I said, program managers, state advisors, whomever on our team can help. We are dedicated to walking alongside of you. And with that, you've got the link to office hours that will start this afternoon. You also have the link to the feedback survey. I'm going to copy and post that again, just so that it is, those are the last 2 posts that have been made, is the link to the office hours. Save that. Even if you're not going to come today, it'll be that same link every Tuesday and Thursdays, 1 to 2 Central. What is that, 2 to 3 Eastern, Chelsea? Yes. Is that right? Yeah. Eastern, Chelsea's in our Eastern time zone, so she's making those conversions all the time. But have a great kickoff to the school year. Let us know how we can be of help. Thank you for joining us today.